worked so hard for this. Please let me go to the music festival and sing. This is my dream.
How dare you question me? I said you're not going, and that's final.
r/EntitledParents. Our first story we'll be reading today, entitled Foster Mother and CPS Worker Ruin My Chance to Travel Out of State for a Music Festival I Was Supposed to Perform in, from user Apple Almeida. After that, entitled Mom Steals My Pizza, from user Jez the Sauce God. After that, Psycho Prophet Roommate Makes House Heck and Calls It Heaven, from user Kitsune571. Thank you so much to our authors for letting us read your stories. And if you're an author who would like me to read your stories next, please submit them to the r/Mr. Reddit subreddit. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories every single day. Entitled Foster Mother and CPS Worker Ruin My Chance to Travel Out of State for a Music Festival I Was Supposed to Perform in. Hi, Mr. Reddit. I'm a huge fan of your videos, and as I write this, I am watching one now. I saw that you read my last post about my entitled friend who flip-flopped on her boyfriend and got her reputation destroyed over it. I was under a different username that I recently changed because I forgot my password and all that jazz. I'm using an iPad with a Bluetooth keyboard that acts up sometimes. I'll do my best to correct any misspellings and typos, but feel free to point out any I may have missed. Our cast. We've got entitled Foster Mom, who doesn't appear very often in this story, but has an important role in the story nonetheless. We've got SW, unsympathetic CPS worker. We've got SGC, school guidance counselor. We've got RC, residential coordinator, and CD, choir director, and me, passionate vocalist. Similar to my previous post, this story takes place ultimately at my school. I used to attend a school for the blind, whose name I won't specify as it is well known, and I really don't need or want any further association with them. At the time of this story, I was living in a foster home and forced to abide by my state's protective service laws as I was a minor. My foster mother, entitled foster mother, was a very strict parent with good intentions, but she could be evil when she wanted to be. This is one of those instances that left me broken and resentful of her and CPS ever since. I was a member of my school choir, and I took my role very seriously. Our performances ranged from small home-like venues, such as a nursing home type setting, to a full-blown major event, such as singing the national anthem at a sporting event or headlining at a major fundraiser event for our school. To prove how serious I was about performing, I made sure to be on time to every meeting place where we would catch the buses that would bring us to outside performances. No matter how big or small the performances were, I always gave it 120% because I loved singing, and my dedication was evident to my friends and my choir director, CD. When choir director announced to us that we would be traveling out of state to perform in a music festival, I was over the moon, as this was the first time I had ever sung in front of a live audience in a state other than my home. We started planning our trip and rehearsing the source material. I'm a very quick learner, and when and if I was ever absent for any reason, I would always manage to learn every bit of missed material in record time. This is important to the story. My guidance counselor was thrilled that I would be traveling to my very first out-of-state performance, but she knew there were extra hoops I had to jump through to get there. Remember how I mentioned that I had to deal with a foster mom and CPS? Yeah, those were the hoops. Entitled Foster Mom was genuinely excited and happy that I got this opportunity, and I felt good at the time. At first, everything was going smoothly between the adults who were behind the scenes, getting all the necessary paperwork to get me to the festival. As the rehearsals continued, all I could think of was the big event. Unfortunately, I was dealing with some personal issues concerning my relationship with my boyfriend, now ex, who was also in the choir. The conflict, which I won't disclose here, started to drive a wedge between me and entitled foster mom, who, from this point on, lives up to the name I had given her in the story. Now would be a good time to mention that I suffer from a range of emotional disorders, including but not limited to OCD, PTSD, chronic depression, and anxiety. Side note, although my emotional disorders have caused a lot of unwanted stress for me and a majority of people around me, nothing helps me cope as easily as singing and the choir, despite whatever issues I was having with my tenor boyfriend, was extremely important and took precedence over all other issues in my life. My emotions were beginning to harm me more than I wanted them to, and ended up spending a month in a psych hospital. I didn't like the idea of going to a psychiatric facility, as I've walked down that road many times before. But deep down, I knew I needed to get my mental health in check before the big trip. In the psych hospital, I had no phone, no internet, and virtually no access to the outside world. This also meant that I had no way of getting my hands or ears on any new material I was missing. By some divine intervention, I was released from the hospital the week before I was scheduled to leave for the trip with my school choir. As soon as I walked into the class, CD exclaimed, "OP, it's good to have you back. We'll get you caught up quickly." I appreciated CD a lot because he truly had faith in me, and just as he expected, I was fully caught up with the rest of the choir not even 2 days before the trip. Mind you, I had missed at least a month's worth of choir rehearsals, which were critical, and every note I didn't get to sing while in the hospital was pitch perfect when I returned. Like I said, I took my role in the choir very, very, very seriously. This is where my world began to crash down on me. Entitled foster mom got upset that I was in the hospital and always got extra agitated because of it, even sometimes going as far as saying things along the lines of,
My whole day was messed up because I was taking care of you.
back at school, SGC informed me that SW might not allow me to go to the festival because of my hospital stay, and I was upset. What? But I worked so hard on this. SGC informed me that she would do everything she could to make sure I'm still able to go because she too acknowledged how much effort I put into my vocal performances. Unfortunately, SW didn't think I should go because of my hospital stay and made up some dumb excuse about not knowing how my medications would be distributed to me and who would be giving them to me in the first place. Entitled foster mom even threw some BS about how she didn't want my meds given out by someone I didn't know. Essentially, entitled foster mom used my trust issues caused by childhood trauma against me, only fueling her reason to, all of a sudden, kick me off the trip that I rehearsed relentlessly for. This school is a boarding school, which meant that some students lived in dormitories on campus, while others commuted every day. At the time, I was commuting every day between school and entitled foster mom's house. Despite being a commuting student, I, as well as every single other student, had an assigned dormitory where we would have lunch and spend some of our breaks throughout the day. I was meant to check in at that dormitory the very next morning, where RC made me sit in the office with SGC across from me and SW on the phone. It was the very day before the trip, that same trip that I worked my butt off rehearsing for, that same trip that despite leaving the hospital with very little time to catch up, I still managed to learn all of the new music for. I got the news that crushed me like a ton of bricks made of lead. The following conversation is paraphrased to the best of my ability, as this was at least 5 years ago. RC. OP, we have decided that you won't be attending the trip with the chorus. What? Are you serious right now? SW over the phone. Due to your recent trip to the hospital, Your supervisor doesn't recommend moving you across state lines. RC. We don't have a way of making sure you get your meds on time, as the staff administering them is new to you. Complete bull. SGC. We spoke to entitled foster mom, and she agrees that it is not a good idea to let you go. Me, livid as heck. I worked so hard on this. I rehearsed for this the entire year. I was looking forward to this. I can't believe you're taking this opportunity right out from under me, knowing how important this was to me. What followed was fake sympathy from SW, RC, and SGC. That's when they said that thing you hear customer service representatives say in a feeble attempt to calm down an irate customer or a little kid. We understand you're frustrated, but it's just not going to happen. Which to me always translated to, we give absolutely zero hoots about you or your feelings, so just stop talking. After having all of my hard work amount to literally nothing, I knew I wasn't going to be needing my vocal cords this week after all. I let them have it. I was practically screaming at the top of my voice at them about how they shouldn't have taken such a great thing away from me because I gave it my all, and how not only did they take away my most important performance yet, but they were also keeping me away from my friends, and that I was going to constantly be reminded of it when they get back, and how I hate them, and so on and so on. When I got home, entitled foster mom called the school to make sure I wouldn't be anywhere near the lobby where the buses were going to be picking up my friends and my boyfriend and taking them to that festival that I should have been attending, so that I couldn't see nor hear any of my friends or say goodbye to them before they left. My first period class the next day took place in the library, and unfortunately, I had no choice but to pass the lobby to get there. I saw my friends waiting to leave, suitcases in hand. My boyfriend was standing right in the doorway, just so I could hear his voice over the rest of them. And the worst part of this was that CD said he would miss me, and that it was a shame I couldn't go because I had worked so hard. He asked me if I wanted him to bring back a souvenir, as well as a copy of the performance, and I politely declined, as I didn't want to hear the performance I should have been in. It would have been a constant reminder of the worst day of my singing life. What's sad enough is that SW had finalized all of the paperwork and had given me the okay to go before I went into the hospital to get myself some treatment before I took on this opportunity. I felt awful. Not only because entitled foster mom allowed me to be treated this way and supported every part of it, but because I let CD as well as all my fellow choir members down. On a brighter note, I made up for all that mess by stepping up every subsequent performance more than I ever had before. What was taken away from me then was given back to me by throwing my whole heart and soul into every performance I participated in and turning up my stage confidence to the max. If you thought I was dedicated before I got the festival trip taken from under me in such a calculated way, you ain't seen nothing yet. Sorry that this is so long. I needed to vent my frustrations out, and I have never really talked about this experience with anyone out of sheer embarrassment. I realize that writing it down and sharing it with you is the best way for me to get rid of the pain, if only temporary, and make space in my head for more songs to write and sing in the years to come. Mr. Reddit, you have my full permission to read this on YouTube if you would like. I'm subscribed to your channel and look forward to whatever you upload next. Next we've got entitled Mom Steals My Pizza. Hey Mr. Reddit and Re-Army. I enjoy watching the vids, and I now can finally contribute. Sadly, the entitled parent in this story is mine. The story is short, so no too long didn't read. Cast. We've got me, we've got Mom. Story. Since I'm a year 11 in the UK, grade 10 US, I finished high school, year 7 through 11 UK, or grade 6 through 10 US, meaning instead of a 6-week summer holiday, I have a 3-month holiday, so my laziness and fat behaviors have emerged from its cocoon. So yesterday morning, I went to cook myself a pizza for breakfast. I put it in the oven and then went upstairs to browse YouTube. When I returned, I saw my pizza had disappeared. I asked the only suspect it could be, my mom. "Where's my pizza?"
I don't know.
"Oh, really? Let me use your favorite line when I lose something. Did it magically grow legs and walk off?" Mom smiles smugly.
Well, I thought you were not going to eat it, as it was sitting in the oven unattended.
"Did you think I wasn't going to eat the pizza, but the oven was still on? Okay, then you owe me a pizza."
No, and it's not your pizza, as the oven you were cooking in is mine.
Okay. I walked off, planning my evil revenge. Note for you guys. This, in my 16 years, is the most entitled my mom has acted. She's never prior acted like this. Also, my mom loves to drink. She usually has a glass of brandy a week. And my mom is a health freak. She doesn't buy snacks, so this pizza is the only thing a week that I get to eat that's junk food unless I waste my money on junk food. I'll do it when I get a job. The revenge. Me realizing how I could avenge myself, I grabbed some apple cider vinegar. I absolutely hate vinegar, so this also helps get rid of it. And I mixed the brandy and the vinegar, but this was the decoy. Because you see, I knew my mom would notice the vinegar and brandy concoction, but would she realize that wasn't the end game? Because I am inevitable. I went into her room and took her pillow out its case and doused the rest of the vinegar into her pillow and rubbed it in. So now my mom is sleeping in her bed and wondering why it smells like vinegar. My revenge is complete and my justice, blank, satisfied. Thanks for reading. You have full permission to use this in a vid, even though you don't need it. I also have a pretty good revenge story that counts as both pro and petty revenge. Let me know if you'd like to read it. Next we've got Psycho Prophet Roommate Makes House Heck and Calls It Heaven. So, it's my first ever apartment. Well, I rent a room with a shared common area, with 2 other rooms in a basement suite, whose ceiling is 5'8". It's meant to be rented out to students, but all are welcome if they pay and abide by rules in place for students. Low noise, not really seen, etc. Now, I've had roommates come and go, and being at school most of the time, I don't get to see who's looking at the new rooms. So one evening, I'm heating up dinner in the microwave and sitting in my room waiting for it to finish. As I hear the microwave go off, and I go to get my food. As I'm coming back from the kitchen, I felt something was off, like a mass of new energy was in my space. I look over to see an older man, 60s, heavy set and dark face. He's white and his face was a dark red as he drank too much. I instantly got anxiety, fled to my room, put my soup down on my desk, and jumped into bed and watched a few TV episodes. Don't recall what, to calm my nerves. Turns out, this was my new roommate. I know I should change names for privacy reasons, so we'll call him Key, after a biblical key to open the gates of heaven, which he will bring up as he has the key. Of course, I don't like new people, but after small introductions, I was okay with him. Well, obviously temporarily. Key was overall rather filthy, and his breath always reeked. Generally, he was an unclean man, and it showed everywhere. As I said before, being geared towards students, generally we are in our rooms or out of the house. He, however, consumed the entirety of the basement with trash, food, and other general filth. Of course, I'm not going to say anything since I don't like confrontation. Alas, that wasn't even the worst part. See, Key has a divine connection to God, as in God speaks to him. How do I know? He's told me multiple times. Each time he spoke, it was 4-hour or more conversations. When would he do this, you ask? Whenever he saw me. Key was also writing God's new scripture, the key into heaven. He had also been to Heck, seen all the people there. For your information, no one is in heaven because his scriptures hadn't been published. And all the while, whenever he spoke, his words said peace and love, and everyone's doomed. And his body language was aggressive and fire and brimstone vibes. He'd get really close to me, invading my space, poking me, and throwing his hands up as he'd preach, cyclically and repetitively. He had also blessed the house with good fortune. Apparently, that didn't cover constant anxiety. This man would corner me every chance he got to preach to me, and I literally couldn't do anything. Being raised Catholic, and God would speak to him, I prayed and prayed and prayed that he'd leave me alone, and he'd still preach in ways that unsettled me and made me more anxious. At one point, I vented it to the landlords of the overall conditions of the living space, as it was in their basement, and they had spoken to him many times about cleaning up. He, of course, never did. He also was late on rent, as his job was to paint houses, which was a summertime job only. Now, I'm really into anime, and was, at the time, watching Inuyasha. Now, in the anime, there is a priest that uses ofuda, a paper charm to ward off evil. I'm desperate and think, well, I guess I might as well try. I looked up warding-type Japanese scripts and find one that says, repel demon or something. As soon as I put that on the inside of my door, he left me alone. He never preached again. He never talked to me. And all the gusto that he had for his divine scripture were never shared again. Now, I'm not saying that he's evil, but I can't say that he wasn't after warding my room and getting that dramatic response. After a while, the landlords, of course, were growing tired of his inability to pay and gave him notice to leave. But would this be a fun story if I told you he humbly left? I hope you said no, because he didn't leave without threatening the power of God. And in his immortal words, I will command God to cast a flesh-eating plague on, not only this city, but all of Western Canada. Yeah, buddy, I'm sure that's how that works. Thankfully, he did just leave. I've never felt safer than after he left. Key, let's not meet again. And congrats to our Regenerals of the day, Chissy Spider, Zora Master, MSM Master, and KC Cat 5. Become tomorrow's Regenerals by dropping as many Rees as you can in the comments below.